Babysitting is one of the most common jobs taken up around the world. It's an entertaining way to quickly earn money. Sounds enjoyable, just messing around with kids and taking care of them. Babysitting may seem like a lot of fun, but it can come with consequences of its own, because kids are both naive and innocent. Children are often the primary targets of paranormal and creepy events. Let's take a look at the 3 most bone-chilling babysitting horror stories. Grab a drink, because this is going to be a long ride. I'm currently 24. I babysat for neighbors, cousins, and other local families at 17. Seeing the kids' faces light up when they saw me made the job more enjoyable, but the last group of kids I babysat were weird. I watched them 4 days a week, helped with homework, fed, and put them to bed by 7. Alexis was 3, Marissa 8, Larry 6. While I was doing homework, the kids watched TV in the living room. Maths weren't my strongest subject, so it took longer to concentrate on. Being too focused on something else while babysitting is not good. After a time, I noticed the house was abnormally quiet. I looked up from the table to see the kids sitting on the kitchen floor with those sweet eyes, asking, "Are you waiting to go home?" Marissa smiled. "You're already home, stupid." "No, we live with you," she said. "I'm only the babysitter, sweetheart. I watch after you when mom and dad need a night for themselves." I laughed. "But Jackson claimed that you were our mom and that you gave us these new parents because you had to." I asked, "Who is Jackson?" "The man in my closet," she responded. I asked her how long the man in the closet had been there. She shrugged and said, "I don't know. He says you're pretty kind." "You have quite the imagination, Marissa," I chuckled. Larry and Alexis hugged my legs as Marissa gazed at the ceiling when I heard her room's floorboards creaking. She clapped, "Jackson's here," and I leaped out of my chair, grabbed the kids, and ran to the front porch. If you're enjoying this video, please make sure to drop a thumbs up before continuing on. I told them to go get help at Mr. Hughes' place. Before entering the child's bedroom, I observed them run down the porch and across the yard. I crept upstairs with a knife from the kitchen sink and stood outside Marissa's room. I softly pressed my ear to the door and heard voices, opening it. The chilly breeze from Marissa's open windows set off alarms. I know the window was closed before putting the kids in front of the TV. Toys were on the bed and dresser. Drawers were open and dispersed. I wondered why I didn't call the cops while reaching for the protruding light switch. Defending the kids was instinctual. The man in the closet had his back against the wall, his belt undone, and a toothless grin when I turned on the light. He wheezed, "You're gorgeous in person." My chest felt like it was tightening. I struggled to take a breath, but the sound of sirens filled me with relief. He sprang up and knocked me into the wall before running out. I collapsed and cried. The kids had knocked on the neighbor's door until Mr. Hughes responded. Alarmed, he contacted 911. Mr. Hughes, Marissa, Larry, and Alexis waited for the police in the dining room. The man hiding in the closet had apparently been living in there for a few weeks. He was in his 40s, strung out on something, and homeless. I don't know what happened to him, but that ended my babysitting career permanently. Living your kids with a babysitter is challenging for any parent. My husband and I have a great babysitter. She monitors our kids as needed. It can be for 20 minutes because we're late getting home from work, or for a whole weekend because my husband and I travel for work. Our babysitter lives next door, and I've known her since she was born. She's an 18-year-old pre-med student. She's an orthopedic surgeon-to-be. I trust her with my 6- and 4-year-old kids. Like many Saturday nights, my husband and I had a work function to attend, so we called our trusted babysitter, who happily agreed. As we exited the driveway at 7:30, I saw the garage door was slightly ajar. My husband never leaves doors half open. I knew he wouldn't leave it open because that garage has all his tools. I assumed the wind would have opened it. I couldn't explain why I felt nervous as the night wore on. My kids required check-in. I called the babysitter because the sun was setting at 8:45 in summer. She stated they finished hot dogs and will watch a movie after 1 or 2 rings. This helped me calm down, but I still felt something was wrong. I called again a minute later and asked her to check the side window and tell me if the garage door was closed. I inquired if it was mostly closed because she said it was. We hung up after she declined that it was open. I asked my husband to go home as I was feeling uneasy. He reluctantly agreed, but would do all for me. For the first time in years of taking care of my kids, she didn't answer my third call. I panicked when I saw the side garage door open wide as we approached the house. As my husband pulled into the driveway, I spotted a man climbing into the kitchen window. He stared at us in the driveway. My husband got out of the van, caught him, and held him down as I was terrified in fear. It was a thin man. Police arrived minutes after I called. My babysitter and children were in the basement when I entered. Candles and strange relic-like symbols surrounded her. She laughed and chanted when she saw me. She and the man were caught soon. The police's explanation sickened me. My younger babysitter met this man at the end of the school year and joined Scientology. They experimented with rituals together. The ritualistic artifacts paperwork stated they would sacrifice my children for 2 sacrifices. The food and pee they found in the garage crawl space indicated that this thin man had been staying there for a week or more. I've pursued charges to the fullest extent since then. After hanging up, I climbed Tyler's stairs. Tyler's mother phoned me to leave when I arrived. Tyler was 5 years old and had autism, so I knew watching him would be difficult at first. I had to get used to his behavior and ways of interacting, but I got used to it and learned to accommodate him. I would hear him talking to himself in different rooms, usually thinking he was playing, but sometimes it seemed like he was literally talking to himself. On the first night, I woke up to Tyler's laughter outside of the room I was sleeping in. I was confused when I saw the bedroom door open because I knew I had closed it. I went to see where Tyler was, and his laughs were coming from his room. A crack in the wood floor stopped his laughter, and then the light from his room went dark and I heard him jump into bed. I wasn't even halfway across the hallway, yet I still called him. Finally, bedtime arrived, and I told Tyler to stay in his bed. An hour later, I was woken up by a giggling noise and whispering, which had to be Tyler. I sat up, rubbed my eyes, and looked around the room. I called out and heard the giggling again from across the room. I flicked on the lamp and saw Tyler sitting in the closet with the door half open, revealing only his face. At 2 in the morning, the shade and angle of the light hitting his face made the sight even more disturbing. I left the wardrobe to get him. I complained. I asked him why in bed. Tony said his response was unsettling. He said Tony was the closet talker. I raced as he said this, but I knew it was his imagination again. I told him to stay in and went back to my guest room and shut the door. As I lay in bed, I thought about what Tyler said about the man in the closet. Why would he say that? I lay on my side and tried to clear my head and just go to sleep. There was a sudden sound of something hitting the closet door, almost like a knee or something. It was definitely not the sound of an object falling or hitting the door. I called Tyler's name, hoping it was just him playing games again. No answers. So I called out Tyler louder, loud enough for him to hear me across the hall and in his room. He called back, "Yes, down the hall." At that moment, I basically jumped out of bed and ran to Tyler's room to get him out of bed. I carried him to a bathroom where we hid while I called the cops and stayed on the line with a 911 operator, only whispering occasionally that we were still okay. I hope Tyler's closet invader never returned. Whew. Whoa, these are some serious stories. Who knew there was more to babysitting than just making sure the kids have food and enjoyment? Let me know what you thought of the stories. Have you ever taken up babysitting? Have you experienced anything strange? Do you share it in the comments below? We would love to hear it. Please hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our exciting future content.